Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host Bryan. We're going to continue on with some unique vocals today, looking at two tracks from the same group. The group is called Rolo Tomassi, and we're going to be looking at Aftermath and Rituals. We're going to start with Aftermath first and get into that. Alright, let's see what's going on here. I love the playfulness in that drum right off the bat. Yeah, really playing around with where accents are on the on beat or off the beat. Gorgeous, really nice guitar part behind this beautiful melody line that she's throwing down on the vocals. They got this nice halftime and super wide production, just really filling the space for the previous section right here. A lot sparser, there's a lot more room to breathe. I like that bass tone really filling out the low end there. That drumming though, really tight rhythmic ideas with tons of embellishment. Really full production here. Yeah, I love the backup vocals here. Really providing a lot of extra width that we already have a very full sounds, but amplifying that even more later on. Yeah, so I'm gonna take a second. We're gonna talk about that one before we head into Rituals. So, let's see. I'm really confused how this ended up on Unique Vocals Week. She is a very strong vocalist for sure, but she also kind of has a very kind of, I don't want to say generic, but very mainstream pop rock kind of vocal style. I don't really see anything extremely unique into it, but I'm sure there's a reason that I've been asked to check out two songs today from Rolo Tomassi rather than just one. I do really like this framework though. I'm kind of guessing that the next song is going to be drastically different in a sense, but this feels like uh, a ballad on sort of a like an alt rock album. Alt rock might be the wrong. I don't know how to classify. Everything just sounds like rock to me. Once we hit metal, I'm kind of understanding some of the subgenres, but everything softer than metal is just kind of rock to me. But there's definitely elements in here like the bass tone and the rhythmic complexity and the drumming, that super big wall of sound kind of post rock idea going on in the chorus. There's definitely elements in this that tell me that this isn't the only type of music that they play, and I'm kind of expecting, like I said, a little flip when we move into rituals. But I do want to talk about a few of these things. I think the contrast in this track is really great. Uh, the spotlighted element, I don't think really does a lot for the contrast, which would be the vocals. I feel like she's pretty consistent throughout, both in range, delivery, volume. It's pretty much a static experience from beginning to end, but the music underlying it is just done very well as far as creating two separate ideas in a sense, and bouncing back and forth between them while retaining the sense of consistency between them. We have the sparser element that looks at what do we got? We got a bass that kind of holds out these whole notes, just kind of laying down a foundational element down there. We have the piano and the guitar. They are creating the sound floor for the vocals to exist over, and then the drumming, which is just, I could sit here and gush about that forever. The drumming is just so good. To me, it's the highlight of this song, at least. Everything comes together. I'm not saying that anybody is bad. The whole song comes together to create this excellent soundscape. But the drums are easily the most technical aspect and what kept my interest from beginning to end, with just the proficiency of including little embellishments or ornamentations to an otherwise simple rhythmic concept. The drummer has such a knack, such an innate understanding of how to keep time and also put in some fancy stuff constantly. It's not like, every 4 bars he throws in a fill. It's this constant drip feed of really interesting rhythmic ideas. Right off the bat, he comes in with a pretty standard eighth note concept, but constantly changes up whether he's accenting on beats or off beats, and it creates this really nice, groovy flow to that intro. And he just doesn't let up. He continues to throw these interesting elements in there, and I love it, every bit of it. He does bring it back a little bit in the choruses, kind of plays it a bit more straight, which I think works well because they're going for this overwhelming wall of sound concept. So, having that extra ornamentation is not going to jive well with what's going on in the in that concept. You're really trying to get that singular unified sound where everybody is pushing in the same direction, and having everybody having this sort of you know single force idea, and then the drummer doing their own thing underneath it or around it. It's gonna detract from it. So I think it was good that the drummer reined it in a bit there, but almost every other time the drummer's just killing it with some technical ideas. I really love it. Um, Man, is that all I have to say? I guess this is kind of a rather simple song. It, like I said, it's very, despite the contrast between the sparseness and the wall of sound in atmosphere and in feeling, there is a lot of shared identity throughout both of those sections, where we have very similar timbres, very similar emotional atmospheres, It really is just the weight of cutting to that halftime. Everybody's hitting these really long held out notes and just bringing this extra width. There's like extra fuzz, extra width in the production of these elements in the chorus. But I mean, both sections of the song sound fairly similar, I would say. And there really isn't much differentiation other than those two segments, and you just kind of bounce back and forth. I do like the change at the end when we bring the backup vocals in. I thought that was an interesting way to shift it up a little bit in the end, which I thought was necessary given how samey everything kind of felt for me. But I'm thinking that this aftermath is setting me up for what we're gonna listen to now. It's gonna be the contrast that helps me understand why Rolo Tomassi was picked for this week, or I should say was suggested for this week. All right, so now we got Rituals. Let's get in on this. Already, it's a much darker tone. Ooh, they're playing around with time, too. Yeah, I have no idea what time signature this is in. It's constant. I feel like every fourth bar is a different length. Right now they're in 7. I wonder if that tracks in the intro. Yeah, just high intensity going at 11 constantly. Introducing dissonance that we really didn't hear much of last time either. Yeah, we're to a 4 right now. Yeah. Constant wave of attack. It's 4-4 with every beat being accented like this. I like that little piano melody in the background though. Especially played against this sort of black metal style guitar run. Okay, now see, I was expecting something different from Aftermath. It wasn't that though. It wasn't that. Okay. Okay. I get it. I get it. Uh, yeah, I gotta process this. Um, okay, so the reason I think Rolo Tomassi was suggested for Unique Vocals Week is because the vocalist does have sort of a pop rock, Paramore esque kind of vocal in the cleans. And at least to me, it's very interesting to hear that paired with the whatever that was we just heard. I don't know what kind of harsh vocals they were, but they were, especially there at the end when they got layered up. There was some highs and then some lows. I don't know if they were different techniques, but they definitely introduced a ton of textural layering, textural harmony there. Um, and yeah, that was just wild. And it's also interesting, I've said that some of the wall of sound elements from Aftermath kind of, uh, gave this impression that that very atmospheric, bright, almost pop rock style of music that they utilized in Aftermath's verse wasn't necessarily what they always did. And like I said, I knew coming into this one it was going to be different. It was going to be a bit heavier, but I just was not expecting this. It's kind of like metalcore with black metal influences. I think is that tracking? Is that tracking at all? I honestly have no idea, but it's really cool to see this combination. We have sort of this playful, very rhythmic oriented music at the beginning. Like I said, we were in a strange time signature, and I couldn't quite get a grasp on it. And I do believe that's because every fourth bar was not the same time signature as the bar for before it. Basically, they did a four bar pattern, I think. And when they repeat it though on bar four, we have a different time signature in it than the one previously. Sometimes it felt like there were 6 beats in it. Sometimes there were seven. Sometimes there was only four. Um, and yeah, it was very difficult to keep up with. But then we moved into a 7/4 idea. And the guitars kept this rhythmic, syncopated concept, but it was just more rigid. We didn't have so much lineality. Lineality. The the time signature wasn't as lenient. There wasn't as many changes in it. It was 7/4 strictly throughout the entire event, and then we move into that 4/4 at the end, and it is just constant sort of, like I said, we had that syncopated rhythmic stuff. We get here though, and it is just pure attacks, constant attacks. We have eighth notes in the bass kicks. We have eighth notes in the drumming, all the drumming stuff. I think snare, cymbals. Cymbals might have been quarter notes. The guitars, I think, were either doing eighth or 16th notes. Just that constant barrage of attacks that I associate with black metal. But the production is very clean, very, very modern, very metalcore. And it's interesting to hear the music slowly shift from that concept of, rhythmic grooviness to full on assault, where it's not really any moment where I can say, this is where we shifted ideas. It's this gradual descent into this. And I absolutely love that. I think it's a fantastic way to go about doing this. And it's interesting. I think that I can say it's metalcore that slowly turns into black metal, but that's shorthand. I think that also kind of removes some of the intricacies that are going on in this track. and kind of boils it down to two genres when there's actually a lot more going on. Um, so I probably should stop using genre shorthand so often, but uh, it's just where my mind usually goes. I don't think I've explained this often before. I have in the comments. When I listen to music, I tend to associate tags to sections so that I can pull them up later on in the analysis section. It's how I can listen to a 30-minute song and then still talk about it, talk about specific sections of it later on. And one of the tags that I've begun to use more often now that I'm becoming more uh, have more experience with different subgenres is using subgenres as tags. So that's kind of how I remember some of these sections is basically genre tropes, which is not always great but tends to work fairly well. And usually I can say, the ending remind me of black metal. File that away as black metal section. And then when I bring it back up, I remember, black metal is full of attacks, lots of, quick playing, full on assault kind of stuff. And then I'm like, how does that associate with what I remember from that section? I'm like, oh yeah, that's kind of what they were doing there. Or, they were doing that, but with this twist. And it kind of just allows me to jog my memory. But it is a shorthand that isn't perfect. And I think this is one of those cases where it's a perfect example of that, where I remember it as two different things, but really there's a huge sliding scale of stuff in the middle that as the song slowly shifts from one concept to another, that just remembering it as two genres kind of erases. But yeah, there's just a really cool progression in this song. It is a linear song, isn't it? Trying to remember back to the composition. What's interesting is much like Aftermath, Rituals is a song that hits a specific atmosphere and stays within it the entire song. There isn't a lot of uh, global or overarching concepts that change. There's not a lot of contrast in the song. It's firing at 11 all the time. A lot of it is more of the nuanced stuff. How does the rhythmic elements change up? What's going on with, uh, you know, the guitars. Were they doing something syncopated? Are they not doing anything syncopated? Are they just dropping everything on the beat now? It's smaller ideas than that, than larger ideas like what is the atmosphere, what is the emotion, what is the feeling of the song? Is it slow or fast? Are there tempo changes? Those higher level ideas are static throughout, just like in or Aftermath. However, this song I think kept my attention more, probably a little bit because of the novelty. Just was not expecting anything like this. But also on the flip side, I feel like there's a lot more nuanced movement in this one. And maybe it's just because I'm more adjusted to listening to the nuances that this song employs. It's very possible that Aftermath is a very nuanced song as well. I just don't have the ear for whatever they were doing that was, the minute changes they were making to it. But at least to me, this one sounds a lot more dynamic despite sitting in the same atmosphere throughout. They also crammed a lot of stuff into 3.5 minutes, whereas Aftermath was 4 minutes, and I felt it had less ideas going on. But I do feel Aftermath was more emotional. That's not the right word. It's more of going for a vibe. Atmosphere is designed to create, not atmosphere, Aftermath is designed to create an atmosphere for the listener to just sit in and to exist within for an entire period of time. Whereas this one is, at least as far as I'm concerned, just designed to move through various similar ideas in a linear fashion to get from one point to the next. Yeah, it's just, and the thing is I found out before doing these, I was informed that these two songs are back to back on an album. The whiplash of going from Aftermath to Rituals is wild. It is just wild. Um, yeah, I'm gonna have to be digging into this group, Rolo Tomassi, just because I'm so intrigued. If this is their high and their low, all right. Just say hypothetically, this is the width of their talent. There is so much room in the middle to see where else they take their ideas and how else they create music, that I think it would be a disservice to myself not to explore their work. Yeah, I'm blown away. And, part of me thinks that Rituals would have been fine on its own. It had clean vocals in it, as brief as they were. But yeah, there is just nothing like listening to Aftermath before this. It is just one of the wildest flips. And the thing, oh, I need to go back. Aftermath ends with some slightly tense, dissonant guitar tones. I don't remember exactly what, if it was a chord or if it was just some feedback, but that was fading out. And I got to go back and see if that connects into Rituals, if these are designed to be listened to as a single song, or if there is a gap between the two. But yeah, oh man, it's just, I can't wrap my head around this. Especially, like I mentioned, just on that vocal front. Like, I've listened to albums where we go from heavy to soft or soft to heavy. I'm kind of used to that with groups of musicians who have a variety of tastes and preferences in music, and they like to play a wide variety of things. Like, I'm used to that. Most of my favorite bands are bands that have such a wide gamut of music that they've created. Um, to me, it really is the vocals that are the exceptional thing here, and it's just because I'm not. I don't think I've ever heard somebody with vocals these style of vocals, clean vocals, producing this style of harsh vocals. It is uh really cool. And I don't know. I really enjoy it. Like I said, it's got kind of like a pop rock edge in the clean. Reminds me of a Paramore style, and I don't even know what's up with those harshes. It's an interesting mix between sort of a mainstream Fry vocal and like some black metal, more nasally, narrower screams. And then of course, like I mentioned, there's that layered lower. I think it's still a fry, but it's a lower fry that gets layered in there near the end in a couple of the lines. Yeah, just blows my mind. Not what I was expecting at all. Um, so yeah, that's my thoughts on Rolo Tomassi. We got Aftermath, we got Rituals, um, and yeah, they have a range. That's for sure. This is where you guys come in. Though, hit me up in the comments. Let me know if you enjoyed this or not. Anything that stuck out to you. If you have any context that might help me, appreciate what's going on. Well, I appreciate I appreciate a lot what's going on. Like I said, I'm gonna have to check out more of this. But even if you have any context about the band or this song or album or whatever, go ahead and hit me up with it. Above the comment section, there's a description box, and in there is a link for Linktree. It'll take you to this menu right here, and it has stuff for everything related to the channel. If you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, you can do that. You can also follow me on Twitter, join the Discord community, email me, a bunch of stuff. I mean, it's all in there. Aside from that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. All three of those things help out the channel immensely with the YouTube algorithm and stuff. We got one more video coming up in less than a minute. We're going to be looking at the special selection for the day. Otherwise, I'll be back tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 p.m. UTC, as usual. Till next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.